Newcastle plan a Bale bid, Van der Beek can leave for Ajax, Man United want a new generation, a transfer roundup and the great debate all coming up in the next few minutes as I'm your host Matt Froelich, here with the Onefootballers, and this is the Daily News. First up, but apparently Newcastle are willing to splash around £53 million if they're to bring in Gareth Bale in the summer, of course after their potential takeover is complete, because beforehand there is no way in hell that Mike Ashley is spending even £5.3 million, never mind 53 million. Anyway, once it's all said and done, apparently they feel like they have the finances to attract the Real Madrid star to their club. And I know those of you are going to be thinking this is absolute rubbish. This is like some football manager FIFA fantasy where you get taken over and splash the cash. But may I remind you, when Manchester City had the same thing happen to them like 12, 13 years ago, they went ahead and bought Robinho. Like, they couldn't attract Robinho with like, come on, we've got loads of great stars already at the team. They were just a team that got taken over from mid-table, and they spent big and they paid him whatever he wanted in wages, and he joined the club. In fact, rumour has it that Robinho didn't even know he was signing for Manchester City. Apparently he was told he was going to Manchester, believed it was Manchester United, and then turned up at the Manchester City training ground under Mark Hughes. Anyway, whether or not Newcastle can actually do it, well, that kind of depends on the takeover for around 300 million. But if they do, you can be in no doubt that they will go spending money. Gareth Bale, however, may be a different question. This is because there are also two other options on the table for the Welshman. One of them is another return to the Premier League, but with former club Tottenham, who probably wouldn't be paying that sort of money in a transfer fee, but may give in to paying a high wage. Not as high as what he earns at the moment, but I think he's pretty much certain he's not going to get that anywhere else. The other option is moving to the MLS with David Beckham's Inter Miami. And yes, Beckham seems to be using his contacts in football to try and get in touch with absolutely everybody. There's talk of Messi, Ronaldo, Sergio Aguero, David Silva, Edison Cavani, and now Gareth Bale. I mean, surely one of them is going to land. And if anyone's going to leave their club, it's going to be Gareth Bale. So, we might see him stateside in the next few months. But moving on next and to Ajax, where CEO and former legend Edwin van der Sar has said that Donny van der Beek can leave the club. This is part of a process where last summer he told the likes of Van der Beek, Andre Onana and Hakim Ziyech that he would help them find another club next summer to improve their career if they just stayed with Ajax for one more season. This is because obviously they didn't want to lose too many good players at once. Last summer they did bring in around 140 million with the sales of Frenkie de Jong and Matthijs de Ligt. But if they'd also lost the other three, they would have lost 5 world-class talents. World-class may be a bit of a stretch, and that definitely would have left them in a worse position than they're currently in. As it stands, they were knocked out of the Champions League, and they were joint top of the Eredivisie, obviously before the COVID-19 saga. So what's going to happen to Van der Beek in the summer? Well, there's a whole host of teams who are interested in him because, well, he's a really good player. But Real Madrid and Barcelona, obviously, because they're linked with everyone, were two of the ones who were named. And with Real Madrid's case, it's because apparently they signed a verbal agreement. So they didn't actually sign it, they made a verbal agreement that Donny van der Beek would join the club in a £50 million deal. That is obviously not binding, so at the moment he hasn't actually signed for anybody. But if he does, they'll be getting a really, really competent midfielder who could play in a wide variety of positions. If anything, I think this may be another summer for Ajax where they lose more than they bring in. But the money has been so good that Van der Sar has said that they don't need to sell for a cut price because they're doing just fine. As I mentioned, 140 million last summer. They've already agreed to sell Ziyech for another 33 this summer to Chelsea. So if you add Van der Beek on top of that, that's over 200 million in like the last 12, 13 months. I think Ajax are going to be all right for the next few years. But moving on and to Manchester United, who we absolutely hate talking about, not because I hate Manchester United, even though loads of you seem to think that. I do not hate Man United, but because there's so many rumours flying around, you don't know what to believe, and especially regarding Jadon Sancho. He's another one of these, and the sooner he just hurry up and leaves or commits to Dortmund, the transfer world will be a far, far better place. Anyway, yes, he is one of the 3 players that Manchester United want as they look to bring through a new generation of young players. They've already been spending money, I say behind the scenes because it's not really in the media limelight, on quite a few youngsters from around the world. But the next big 3 are reportedly Jadon Sancho, who I don't think is going to move anywhere, because Dortmund are going to accept a cut price for him. Jack Grealish, who may be potentially moving should Aston Villa get relegated. This be a little bit more likely. And third, Jude Bellingham. Now, he's been the one from Birmingham who's been talked about switching to either Dortmund or Manchester United for a £30 million fee. I may remind you that he is 16 years old. Anyway, according to the latest reports, United are prepared to offer him a first-team role to try and get him to come to Old Trafford. This, I don't know, I just can't see it happening. Like, how are they going to offer him a place in the first team? let's say they sign Sancho as well, right? And they get Grealish too. That's Grealish and Fernandes in the attacking midfield positions. Pogba may still be at the club. There's Fred, there's McTominay. Pereira looks like he might be leaving. They're also apparently going to offer Angel Gomez a 300k a week deal. I think that's a little bit of rubbish. But anyway, they're going to offer him a deal and more first team football if he's going to stay. So how do they plan to work Bellingham into all of this as well? If anything, they'll give him a few minutes here and there, a couple of starts, but there is no way he's going to get as much football as he's getting at Birmingham. The same thing could be said for Jack Grealish. Like, unless he's going to fight with Bruno Fernandes for that number 10 role, which I can't see Fernandes wanting to be relinquished too easily, can't see him getting too many minutes either. Last season, the one player they bought in that they thought wouldn't get as much football as he did was Dan James, but that was out of more necessity rather than having good options. Anyway, if they bring in Sancho, James can also find his footballing time seriously limited. So next up, a quick roundup of the rest of the day's transfer news that you might have missed. Spurs have joined Bayern Munich in trying to sign Ajax fullback Serginho Dest. Inter Milan, Monaco, and now Leicester City are those interested in Real Betis' William Carvalho. Liverpool target Ferran Torres has rejected a new deal with Liverpool. And lastly but not least, Brazilian midfielder Casemiro is close to signing a new deal at Real Madrid, which will see him tied down to the club until 2023. So lastly but not least, we come to this week's great debate where I pose a big question for you guys in the comments section below. So this week, I've got a rather interesting question for you guys. Would you rather A, have your club taken over by multi-billionaires and you buy your way to the title and all sorts of other trophies like Manchester City and like maybe Newcastle are going to be doing in the future? Or would you rather do it organically, for want of a better word? Of course, we know money still gets pumped into these clubs, but would you rather win things a little less, but maybe do it a little bit more of a normal way, maybe a Leicester City sort of style? Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section, because really, I can't choose. At the moment, it would be great if Spurs won some trophies, but you also wouldn't want the heart and soul to be ripped out of the club by just a billionaire owner coming. Actually, wait a minute, they do have a billionaire owner. Well, in that case, why aren't Spurs winning anything? Of course, you guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on that and the rest of today's daily news. Whilst you're at it, you can smash the like button and click here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on Onefootball. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.